But this is, again, we're continuing the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1992 to the convention of his emissaries, of his representatives in the world. There was 1,000 people there. These were the emissaries that the Rebbe sent all over the world to spread Judaism, to wake up Jews, to encourage and to protect Judaism wherever they can. This, of course, is one of the jobs of Mashiach, Mechazek Bibka. And the Rebbe was speaking to all of them and encouraging them that that's the whole job of the Shluchim, is only to bring Mashiach. That's all their whole job. And that they themselves are what's called Shluchim, or Shliach means an emissary, a representative. And the Rebbe pointed out that with divine, direction, this week's Torah portion talks about the first emissary that's talked about in the Torah. The first emissary was, Eliezer. That Eliezer was the servant of Abraham, and Abraham sent him as an emissary, as a representative, as his personal representative, and gave him, so to speak, unlimited power, gave him all of his possessions in the name of Yitzchak, of course, to carry out this all-important match between Yitzchak, his son, and Rivka. And he explained that there's all these Kabbalistic implications that are involved, but it's eternal. And this is the eternal basis of all weddings in the future and the whole Jewish people, right? But it was done through a shliach, and of the shliach, an emissary. And the Rebbe, therefore, is speaking to all of these Chabad emissaries, that they have to get everything straight. First of all, the goal is to bring Mashiach, and also the source. The source, they have to never be separated from the Rebbe, from their, like Eliezer was never separated from Abraham. How do you know? Because he said, Eved Avram Anochi. He said, my whole essence is that I am a servant of Abraham. That's my whole being. I am a servant of Abraham. That was his whole identity, his whole being, his whole essence. He didn't, so to speak, do anything on his own, or let's say even more. Everything that he did on his own was really not his own. It was only done as a representative, as a hand, a limb of Abraham. According to this, Yuvan, we can understand the whole idea of Mashiach and how the Mashiach himself is an emissary. How do we know? Because Moses at the burning bush, this is, of course, is going to be right 400 years later or something. Moses at the burning bush, he said to God, when God suggested that he go and take out the Jews from Egypt, so Moses said, send another emissary. And he implied, who was the emissary? The commentaries say, Moses was saying, why send me to take the Jews out of Egypt when in the end, they're going to go back into exile again, and you're just going to have to send Mashiach. Send the emissary now. Who's the emissary? The Mashiach. Mashiach, he is the emissary of God. That's his whole being, he is an emissary. He's a representative. And the people sitting there, of course, these are the representatives of the Rebbe. They understand that the Rebbe is talking to them. Well, we're going to see that he wasn't just talking to them. He was talking to me and you also. We'll see in a moment. Sha'al Yado, that by means of the Mashiach, that he is an emissary, he is a representative, Nif'alet, Shlemos Inyan HaShlichus. There is accomplished the ultimate purpose of this whole idea, the why there is in the world, right, such a thing as an emissary, namely to unify Ma and Ban. Do you remember we talked about that? Ma is one aspect of God, so to speak, comes from above to below. We talked about that blessing. And Ban is the vessels in this world to receive the blessing, to prepare the world to receive the blessing. That's the unification of these two aspects. That's represented by Yitzchak. He's like this aspect of Ma, the masculine aspect, the blessing that comes down. And Ban, which that's the main thing, that's the physical world. Unify them. Sheichel, this began with the shlichus, with the sending of Eliezer ben Nesui Yitzchak, in the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka. Hashlichus shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God sending, bringing the true redemption. B'shlema. In other words, Abraham was just beginning this, but it's going to end when? Now. Fellas, here we are. Sha'az, then, yeshlemus hayichud shel haneshama b'guf. Then there'll be a unity of the soul and the body. Yisrael b'kodesh baruch hu. The Jews and God are one. Gam ba'olam, even in the world. Shlemus hagiloi, that God will be revealed in this physical world, hagashmi. And in the end, again, this might seem a little bit strange to everybody, especially non-Jews that have been oriented to think that going to heaven is the main thing, and with very good reason. They have certainly enough evidence in this miserable, terrible, disappointing, frustrating world to indicate that this world is definitely not the goal. We got to get out of here as fast as possible. Well, that is a lie. That is not so. The fact of the matter is that this physical world is our job. We are born, put into this world in order to fix up this physical world, that it should be higher than heaven. Because here is where God really wants to be, to reveal God's will in this world. This seems to be something which is totally insane. It makes no sense whatsoever. It makes sense after you die, so you haven't got a body. That's already a good start. You haven't got a body. Your body is a big impediment to serving God. So you die. Oh, that's one good thing happened. You get rid of your body, and then you go to heaven. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, Judaism says it makes sense, but it's wrong. It's wrong. It's enticing. It's comforting. It's how do you say? It's inspiring. We can live our life to go to the, but it's wrong. It's a mistake. It's a lie. It's like in Mishlei and Proverbs, where he talks about the prostitute. She dresses herself up, night puts all sorts of perfume, and she calls to you. It seems the nicest, most wonderful thing in the world, right? Finally, somebody loves me. She cares about me. She's thinking about, and the whole thing is a big lie. It's just a big trick. Why God made it this way, I don't know, but our purpose is to take this world and to transform it to what it really is. But often in the way that the world becomes a dwelling place for God here in the world. Alpisa, according to this movement, we can understand Madua Yesh. Why is there in the Mashiach himself? Why does the Mashiach have to be an emissary? That it's expressed in the fact that he unites these two things. He's like Eliezer. Eliezer was an emissary of Abraham to unite Yitzchak and Rivka. Well, the Mashiach is also going to be an emissary to unite God with the world. Yichud ma'uban, Metzius latzmo. The Mashiach is a person. The Mashiach is going to be a human being, a normal human being, just like me and you. He's going to have eyes, nose, mouth. He's going to have a family. It's going to be like everybody else, right? It's going to be a separate person, a soul in the body, physical, right? He's not going to fly in the air, and he's not going to, go around doing miracles. He can do miracles, but that's not his main thing. The Rambam says, Mashiach is going to be a melech, is going to be a king, Beit David, of the house of King David. Hoga b'Torah, he'll learn Torah, he'll do the commandments just like David did. Yilchom mechamas Hashem, he'll fight the battles of God, all these forces that oppose Judaism. Davar mocher, this indicates that he's in the world, and he is in where there's opposition. Shemishum kakta, because of this, hu tzorich l'nehel milchama, he has to make a war, and he has to win. Together with this, shluchel shel adam, nevertheless, the emissary of a person, in this case, we're talking about God. Adam Elyon is like him. So the Mashiach, on one hand, is pure godliness, and on the other hand, he's not. Something like Eliezer. Eliezer, on one hand, he was totally given over to Abraham. On the other hand, he was in the world. He had to do a job. He had to find Rivka. Shekein kedei lipol, because that's the whole thing of the Mashiach. In order that he should have an effect, at the yichud, to unite the soul and the body in the Jewish people. First of all, to wake up all the Jews, Yaakov called Yisrael, that he will force all the Jews to do the Torah and to strengthen Judaism. The yichud ruchos, and he'll unify spiritually and the physical in the whole entire world, right? Not just the Jews. The Jews are just, so to speak, a catalyst to make this happen in the whole world. every human being will suddenly feel precious, happy. In order to do this, so the Mashiach himself, he has to be including himself both of these things, godliness and the world. There's a sentence in Zota Bracha, we just finished learning it. Zota Bracha Ish Elokim, that Moses says was a man of God, but it doesn't say in the Torah he was a man of God. It says he was a man God, Ish Elokim, man God. So one midrash says that the lower part of Moses says from his whatever it is, his chest and down, whatever, he was a man, and from his chest or his loins up, he was God. I mean, what does it mean he was God? He was, of course, he was a human being, everything, and he wasn't, God manifest. Nobody bowed down to Moses. Nobody prayed to Moses. Nobody believed. But on the other hand, Moses took them out of Egypt. Moses received the Torah. So Mashiach is going to have to be the same thing. He's going to have to be, so to speak, half God, half man. Pure godliness, like a holy temple. What was the holy temple? The holy temple was a place where pure godliness was revealed, but it was a building. So is Mashiach, so in fact is every Jew, and so will be the whole entire world. The entire world will be like a holy temple. According to this, now we can understand what it means, what Moshe said, Shalach biad tishalach. Send whoever you want to. Right? Moses said to God at the burning bush, send whoever you want to send. Make an emissary, whoever you want to make an emissary. Bekasha, he requested, what did Moses want to do? He wanted to, and he actually did accomplish, at the Chibur unifying the Goel Rishon, the fact that he was the redeemer of the Jewish people, the first redeemer, and the Goel Achron and the last redeemer of Mashiach, to unite them. The job of Moses alone was mainly Torah, Chachma. Torah was a teacher. Moses was a teacher. That's his main thing. He took the Jews out of Egypt in order to receive the Torah. That was the whole thing of the Torah. Torah tzip alana Moshe. Like it says, Zechro Torah Moshe Avdi. Remember the Torah of Moses. Right, this is, where is it, a pasuk again? 84, Malachi, the prophet Malachi. Remember that? Moshe Kibel Torah Misina says, Moses received the Torah from Sinai. Moses Torah, say God gave the Torah. Why Moses? Because Moses' whole thing, Moses on his own, Moshe on his own. In was mainly he was a king. Amod Melech Beis David. I'm sorry. That's Moses. Moses was a teacher. Mashiach, his main thing is to be a king. Moses also is Vayibi Yeshua and Melech. It's also speaking about Moshe. But main thing of Moses was, he was, of course, also a king. He led the Jewish people out of Egypt. He was a leader. But the main thing of Moshe was Torah, to teach the Jews Torah. The main thing of Mashiach is going to be a king. Yamud Melech Beis David. He's going to be a king. Yesh Lomar, we can say, Shazeu, this is Al Derech, like the difference between Malat HaMashpia and what is the quality of someone who is a teacher, a giver, Chachma, and the receiver, Malchut. The receiver. Al derech hachiluk bein or hashemesh, the light of the sun, and the light of the moon. That's like the Mashiach, is like the light of the moon. Moses received the Torah from Mount Sinai. He gave it. He received the Torah. Shehi Mokar. This is the source of all blessing in the world, the Torah. And from it is drawn down into everything, including the power of redemption, Geula, Mashiach. Everything comes from the Torah. The whole thing of the Mashiach, though, is Goel Achron. He's the last redeemer. Shu Bobasov, he comes in the end. That's this aspect of Malchut. That's the last of all the Sfirot. That's the end of exile. Moses' main thing was he was spiritual. Moses didn't go into the land of Israel. He didn't get involved in the material details as much. The whole thing of Moshe was Torah. The whole thing of Mashiach is exactly the opposite. The world. Fixing up the world. With the Torah, of course, Moshe, but Moshe brought the Torah into the world. The main thing of Mashiach is to be a king. Aval yesh b'zeh ma'alas hamakabel, to fix up the world. That means to fix up the world so it can receive godliness. Moses brought godliness into the world, but the Jewish people didn't receive it. Some people say, and I guess that's sort of a joke, why the holiday of Shavuot is called Zman Matan Toratenu. The God is the time when God gave the Torah. God gave it, but not everybody accepted it. We see that Jews worshiped the golden calf 40 days later, after they received the Torah directly from God. And so it was all the time. The Jews really weren't, receivers. There was always a big portion of them that were, right? Not a big portion, a small portion that was. But they always made trouble to this very day. Not just Jews, me, myself, personally. You want to, you don't want to, you have it. That's the way it is, right? Mashiach is going to change that. Mashiach is going to change that everyone will want to receive the wisdom of God. Every Jew will want to do all the commandments. Every Jew will be proud that he's a Jew. Here we see now in America. I mean, it's changing the subject, maybe not. What's this? Some, come on, leave me alone. The pops up these advertisements. I wasn't talking to you, leave me alone. But I don't know if you saw the advertisement or not. So some sort of a very famous, very well-known, celebrity, he started talking against the Jews. Which, the fact is, if you look what he said, he wasn't really talking so much against the Jews. He was talking, anyway, it doesn't make any point there. That's how everybody took it, the Jews. Oh, all of a sudden, these Jews who have no connection whatsoever to anything Jewish, maybe once in a while they eat like a corned beef sandwich or something. Nothing whatsoever. They don't act Jewish, they don't talk Jewish, they don't do any commandments. I don't know if they keep Yom Kippur or anything. I'm not trying to say anything bad about these people, but the whole year, they could care less about being a Jew. All of a sudden, this person said that Jews are, they're whatever it is, crooked, they're liars, or whatever. They're trying to control the world. Ooh, all of a sudden they all wake up and they're all fiery and the, Anti-Defamation League, which they themselves don't do any Torah and commandments. They have nothing to do with Judaism, except when somebody says something against Judaism, then all of a sudden it's Mount Sinai is a Kolos Ubrokim. It's like a volcano suddenly erupts. Why? Because inside these Jews, they feel that they're Jews and they know that a Jew is something special. And they know you don't mess around with the Jews. And they know there's more to Judaism than just, the state of Israel and the Holocaust. That there's Torah, the commandments, God, the Creator. The Jews are God's chosen people to do Torah and commandments. That's the real essence, identity of a Jew. And one of the reasons for anti-Semitism is because Jews just don't do their job. So God sends these non-Jews to wake them up. I'm not trying to justify anti-Semitism, don't think I am, but nevertheless, that's one of the ways we see it works. So in some ways, to fix up this world is much more difficult than to bring the blessing into the world. Moses brought the blessing, but the people didn't want to receive the blessing. In order to receive the blessing, that's the Mashiach is going to fix up the world. Kafishi Gala. In other words, what's the main thing of the world? Free will. People will use their free will, from their free will, without any coercion, without any fear, without any threats. You're going to burn in hell if you don't believe in me, right? That works, but it's a lie. It's a big lie. The fact is people from their own free will be willing to do anything just to serve the Creator of the universe, to be kifi yishit galeh, like it's revealed in the future redemption. Shenekeva sovev as giver, it says that the female aspect, the receiver, will be higher than the giver. Malat aguf, that the body of the Jew will be higher than the soul. Remember, we learned that Sikha of the Rebbe where it said that why did it say that everything that Surah does, you have to listen to it? I did not fall down. That was the camera that fell down over here. Gotta fix this camera here. 1 minute. Don't jump to conclusions over here. I thought I had this whole thing solved, but I guess I didn't. 1 minute. All right, see. Okay, tzidkenu. Until the future, the soul will actually receive from the body, will reveal how tremendously miraculous and holy this physical world is. Lochen, therefore, Davka Mashiach tzidkenu. Only the Mashiach, he'll bring the future redemption because everybody will want it. The world will be a vessel. Hagu'ula Shlema, the total redemption of everything in the world. Gam Shel Moshe, also of Moses, because Moses didn't really succeed, so to speak. Moses wanted to take the Jews into Israel, and he wanted that there should be, but he didn't succeed because the Jews weren't ready. Well, Mashiach will make the world ready. That's the whole idea with the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, who he's the Mashiach, sent all of these emissaries around to get the world ready, to wake up the world in a good way. But Yeshlam, we can say, by means of this, that Moses actually caused Shalach no b'Shalach, that he said, I want, God, that you should send, don't send me, send the Mashiach. By means of this, is Gol Rishon who go on when he attached the redemption from going out of Egypt to the future redemption, like we said before. Nifal Yichud, therefore, he did make a unification of these two things, Hasher, that namely bringing a blessing down from above, and also making the world ready to accept this blessing, elevating the world from below. I share that Mashiach, the Mashiach himself will have these two things. He'll be a godly person, like we said, his top half, and his bodily half is from the world. Nosaf Lazen, in addition to the fact that he's a king, he'll also be a Rav. He'll be wise, and he'll teach Torah to everyone. That was the main thing of Mashiach. He's going to teach everyone Torah. And why does it say he's going to be a king? Because he's going to teach people to do things that they don't understand, that are against their understanding. Moses explained to everybody what you should do, what the good things are. And Mashiach, and we see what happened. The Jewish people said, oh, that seems to be good, but that I don't like. This, worshiping a golden calf, what's so bad about that? All the other stuff I'll do, but come on, let's not exaggerate it. What's wrong with bowing down to a golden calf? That's, everybody's doing it, it's fun. Let's do it. So as soon as you start judging on your own, so you start doing what you want to do, right? So you have to have a king to tell you, listen, I'm commanding you, don't do what you want. You have to do what God wants. So there'll be that aspect of Mashiach that he'll explain everything to everyone. But then there's also going to be that aspect of Mashiach that he's going to force everyone to do what God wants. And in fact, this aspect of a king is the whole essence of what Mashiach is. Why? Because it says the Mashiach is going to make even the big tzaddikim do tshuva. And was a person, once he does Torah and he does the commandments and everything, so he feels he's in his comfort zone. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm doing the Torah, I'm doing commandments, I'm praying, I can explain Chassidut, I got people listening to me. I'm pretty good. I'm the way I'm supposed to be. Mashiach is going to come and say, you have no idea how far away you are from your potential. Break out of it. Get out of your Egypt, holy Egypt. You have to go out. He's going to command us, force us. Gam, Moshe Rabbeinu, also, it says he'll teach Torah to everybody. He'll also teach Torah to Moses. Also the same thing with Moses. The same thing with Moses. Moses also was a king, like I said before. So Moses is also called the king, but his main thing is teaching Torah. And Mashiach is also he's going to teach Torah, but his main thing is going to be a king. So Moses was primarily Torah and secondarily a king, and Mashiach will be primarily a king and secondarily, if you can say that, will be Torah. We can say, this is also hinted that Mashiach is the numerical value of the word shliach. Count it out. Mashiach is the numerical value of 358. And shliach is 348. Hey, 1 second, it's not the same. It says, but if you take shliach, which is an emissary, and you add 10, so the 348 becomes 358. What is the 10? The 10 are the 10 powers of your soul. Shekain shlemos gilui Mashiach, that the ultimate completion, reveal of Mashiach will be by means of that he is a shliach, he becomes an emissary, a representative of God with all of the 10 powers of his soul. Every aspect of his soul becomes devoted only to one thing, making the world healthy and blessing, from Chachma until Malchut. Al Pi Yadua, we can say a little bit because we have to stop soon. Al Pi Yadua, I'm sorry. Huh? 1 second. I lost the place. Yeah, here it goes. Okay. Al Pi Yadua, according to what we said, that each and every Jew has the level of Moshe, and every single Jew has the level of Mashiach. So it's understood that each and every Jew has both of these two things we spoke about above. Every Jew is a little tiny Moshe, and every Jew is a little tiny Mashiach. Every Jew. Kol echad ve'echad, each and every Jew is a shliach, is an emissary of God. Like it says, the only reason I was created was l'shamish, to serve my Creator. Kolalos shlichoso, the whole our service of God is le'ir Allah, or it's to shine on the world, to illuminate the world, with the light of holiness and the light of godliness. And again, we have to keep reminding, this physical world is higher than heaven. It's more godly than heaven. This is where God wants to be. This is where the holy temple is. This is where the raising of the dead is going to be. It's our job to reveal it. And this, we say there's two ways to illuminate, to wake up the world. Number one, al derech shtei amoros, like the sun and the moon. There's the big light, which is the sun, and the small light, which is the moon. Like it's known, the world is put in the heart of every Jew. Each and every Jew, mishtakfin, in every Jew is reflected the entire universe. Therefore, every Jew has to be a shemesh, like the sun, and every Jew has to be like the moon, the receiver. The sun gives and the moon receives. By means of this, nasagam, it will also be tahir at the or, it's to illuminate the world. But or choser, what it mean? In a returning light. Al derech mitalmida yoter miklum kulam, like it says, my pupils I received more than everybody else. What's this or choser? I don't know if you've ever been a teacher or a coach. Or anything, even a street sweeper, right? You're a street sweeper, you sweep, when you finish the job and you look and you see, oh, my pupils, he learned something. I changed this person. He became, or you coach somebody, oh, he became a good runner, a good this, or I improved somebody, right? He was incapacitated, he couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, now he can walk. But the street sweeper, look how clean the street is, how nice it is, you get pleasure. That's called or choser. That's called a returning light. You put energy in, but in the end, with the energy you put in, you get it back. The same thing, a person writes a song, he draws a picture, he stands back, he looks at the energy he put in the song, the thing is finished, or it comes up to him. That's the idea of like Shabbat. Everything goes back up to its source, etc. It says, and that's what the world is. God creates the world. When the world does what God wants, and it's a returning light. Yesh b'zeh ma she'ein b'zeh. There's two things, God, the creative force, being a teacher, being a corrector, being a doctor, putting energy in and receiving back, seeing the fruits of your work coming back to you. So Mashiach is going to be like Moshe, he's going to give, and he's going to be like Mashiach, he's going to be like a king, that everything's going to return to him, the world. Yesh b'zeh ma she'ein b'zeh, like the sun and the moon. And especially these are two things that have to be in a shliach, in an emissary. Rebbe is speaking to his emissaries, his representatives. You want to be representatives, you have to have two things. First of all, you have to be totally devoted to the one who's sending. Like Eliezer, Eved Avram Anochi. He has, like the moon, has to be totally devoted to the sun, receiving from the sun. Number two, you have to be a Metzius B'Fnei. You have to be a person on your own. You have to be a bardat. You have to that you have to refine yourself on your own. And so he has to not refine. He has to clarify things on his own, in his own mind. Make up your own mind. How to do what the Rebbe tells you to do. So on one hand, you have to be a robot, given over totally to the Rebbe. On the other hand, you have to totally be the opposite of a robot. You have to be a human being with your own mind, your own decisions, etc. You have to be both simultaneously. Just like Moshe and Mashiach, they are unified. Goal Rishon v'Goal Acharon. Nimshach me'ain zeh. This is also in the service of every Jew. And every Jew is an emissary to unite these two opposites. Right? Maybe we can say also that this is also hinted at the idea of the sun, Shemesh, right? The sun in the sky. Sheyesh bo shnei pirushim. The word Shemesh means the sun. It shines. The word Shemesh also means a servant, a shamash. Milashon shimush, that he's totally negated to the one that he's representing, that he's serving. Namely, that I was only, like the saying goes, I was only created l'shamish, to serve my creator. That I was only created, and there's another way of saying it, that I was not created for any other reason other than to. So one is saying, I was created to serve my creator. I was created in order to serve God. And the other one saying, I was not created except to serve God. Because my whole being depends on serving God. That means a shamash. His whole being is just devoted to the one who sent him. So the Rebbe, you emissaries, you are my representatives, you have to have both. On one hand, you have to be totally devoted to me. That's the main thing. On the other hand, you have to make up your own mind of what you have to do. Maybe you have to be great leaders. Maybe you have to be, humble. Maybe you have to be, whatever you decide you have to do, right? To fulfill your job as an emissary, as a representative, it's up to you. Make up your own mind. Like Eliezer did. Like we said before, that the power to be a shliach, to be an emissary in general, comes from the first shlichus of the Torah, like we said, that how Abraham sent Eliezer to make this marriage between Yitzchak and Rivka. So now we can understand that just like, and when Eliezer went, right, to do this job, Abraham gave everything that he had he gave him a deed of everything that he had. He gave it to Eliezer, since because this was irrelevant and it was essential to his job. Shekala pratim, that all the details had to be permeated with this one point of the marriage, bringing godliness into the world, marrying Yitzchak with Rivka. The marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka. Kamokain, similarly, every shluchus, you, the Rebbe is speaking to his representatives, you, whatever you do, and also whatever every Jew does, namely to serve God, it has to be, so to speak, God is giving him everything that he has. God is giving you the whole entire, how do you say it? The whole entire, the treasury. And the Rebbe is saying, I'm giving it to you also. I'm giving it to you. I'm just an example of what God is doing to every Jew. A shliach that God is sending every single Jew. God is giving all of the power from his essence and his whole being to every single Jew in order to unify ma and ban, the soul with the body of a Jew, or God with the world, etc. But often, in a way, shekala pratim, that all of the details and all the details of the details in the service of a Jew in the course of every second of the day, Nasa will be permeated and filled and revealed with one thing, revealing the Mashiach in the world. That's our job. The Rebbe is speaking to all his emissaries. He's repeating what he said in the beginning. We have one job. Don't get confused. Don't get detoured. Everything you do has to be only one moment. Don't fool yourself. Is only to bring Mashiach. Shleimus in you, to bring the Mashiach into the world, that will see that there's a king with the world, and he'll reveal that God is the true king over the world, and God is creating everybody. God is creating every single person. A king doesn't do that. A normal king, he doesn't deal with the simple people, the losers, the losers. The king doesn't deal with the losers, right? Let him suffer. What do I care? Let him eat cake, right? What does we care? God is not that way. God cares about everybody, the lowest, most, how do you say, in the evil person in the world, right? God is still, you're alive, you got a chance. You come back, don't worry about it. I have faith in you, and every single person. That's filling the world with godliness. That's what Mashiach is going to do. That's why we need and we want Mashiach so desperately right now. And that's what the Rebbe is saying is your job for all of these shluchim. We'll see that the Rebbe is going to say you're not the only ones. Everybody can do it, but we'll see that, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do Hayom Yom. 1 minute. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. 1 second. Yom. Chabad. Oh, that's what we want. One of the teachings of the Maggid and Medrash. Maggid and Medrash was the successor of the Baal Shem Tov, the main pupil and the successor. And this was heard by the Alter Rebbe, who the Alter Rebbe was his youngest and his most outstanding pupil of the Maggid and Medrash. Was a Medrash from this, was, I have made the earth and upon it I have created man. I is Anochi. Anochi is the essence of God. It's unknown and it's concealed from even the highest levels of the creation or emanations. I, God, I have closed my essence through all sorts of condensations and concealments. We learned about that. Remember the Tzimtzum and the Pargud and the Parsa and all these things. To give, I created all these things to the angels, the Seraphim, the Chayot. There's the different names of angels. Seraphim, Chayot, Ophanim, and all sorts of worlds, innumerable worlds. Through countless condensations, I made this physical world and I created man. But I created man. Man is the end purpose of creation. And what's the purpose of man? Barati. Barati, I have made. Barati, the word means I have created, is the numerical value of 613. That's the number of the Torah commandments. So I've made the whole world, all of these upper worlds and revelations and angels and things. The whole reason I created it is so that Jews will do the commandments. The non-Jews also, the 7 Noahide commandments. But mainly the Jews doing the 613 commandments. As the book of Pardes. Pardes is a Kabbalistic book. And it quotes a book which is called Sefer of Bahir. Another Kabbalistic book, which was written before. So the attribute of kindness, chesed, it says, of Atzilut, said to God, Master of the universe, since the days of Abraham, that Abraham has been in the world, I have not had anything to do. Why? Because the aspect of kindness in Atzilut, in the highest worlds, this is nature, right? This is natural. But Abraham went against his nature. Abraham stands and he serves in my stead. Abraham is a soul clothed in the body. And when he did hospitality to strangers, to spread out ideas of God, is really a higher level than the kindness of Atzilut. In other words, let's say another way. Abraham was higher than God. God's kindness was not as high as Abraham's kindness. God's kindness, God just gives to everybody. He just gives life. Abraham gave, but with a purpose that people should recognize God, which that's even a bigger favor. So he would give to people and he would help people, but he did it with a purpose that the people would be helped even more to realize what God is. That's, so to speak, a thing that God himself doesn't do. So God, in that Abraham in that way was higher than God. This, the attribute of the kindness of God, said to the essence of God, this is the envy of Abraham's service by the attribute of kindness. Okay, this has to be explained a little bit, but mainly what it's talking about, the attributes of God have a personality. They are real and they have intellect. And so they're complaining to God. So Abraham in this aspect was higher than God himself. The kindness of Abraham. What's the point? What's the point of telling us this? That the whole essence of the creation is man, and that man using his free will to serve God and to advertise God is higher than any of the highest spiritual aspects. Have a good day with Moshiach Now. God willing, at 3 o'clock, there'll be a class. Whoever wants to come. What's this? 1 second. We have a note over here. The Rebbe said we should also demand Mashiach. Sure, Mashiach now. The Rebbe said we want Mashiach now. Right. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about that. I think that was fixing up the sin of Adam. It says that Adam, his sin was he didn't wait. If he would have waited 3 hours, then he would have been able to eat from the tree of knowledge, but he wasn't able to wait. And because he wasn't able to wait, so we have to wait until Mashiach comes to be the raising of the dead. We have to wait. So the Rebbe took that and fixed up this, impatience that Adam had, and he transformed it to impatience of holiness. I don't want to wait. We don't want to wait for Mashiach, right? We don't want to wait. And by our not wanting to wait and doing everything we can to bring Mashiach right now, is that fixes up even the sin of Adam, and there'll be the raising of the dead, and we'll see with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All together, they'll come and they'll say, thank you very much for your impatience. Have a good day with Mashiach Now. See you, God willing, at 3. Whoever wants to come is welcome.